You know, I've been saying it a little bit too often when I start the podcast on Saturday afternoon. It was one hell of a week in the world of professional wrestling, and this week I don't think that was for good reason. AEW delivered Blood and Guts on Wednesday night on TNT, on Dynamite, and though the match delivered as far as an in-ring aspect and a feud aspect between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, it definitely exposed two things. One, AEW fans hate criticism. AEW fans expose themselves as being one of the worst fan bases in all of professional wrestling. Downright idiotic and illogical at times. And AEW showed everybody, or at least I want to think so, showed everybody that they have one habit that they absolutely need to break if they want to continue to grow and possibly go one-on-one in the future with WWE. Speaking of WWE, management from WWE thought that Blood and Guts was an embarrassment to the pro wrestling industry and labeled it barbaric. I think WWE management needs to learn when to shut their mouths. Also, Daniel Bryan is now officially a free agent. When did Daniel Bryan start to think he was leaving WWE? What was with all the false contract talk? And what is the latest on Daniel Bryan? And what is his mindset now that he is no longer tied to WWE? All this plus so much more on episode 375 of Off the Script. What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 375 for your May 8th, 2021. I am your host, JD from New York. We have a lot to get into today. But before we actually begin, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there celebrating Mother's Day. Your mother's the most important figure in your life. I know Mother's Day is special to a lot of different people, but listen, your mother should be treated the same way with that same level of importance every single day, no matter what, man. So if you guys are out there celebrating Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day to everybody listening to the show. We got a lot to get into today, man. We're going to cover Blood and Guts, AEW's big night on Wednesday night. A lot of backlash coming out of Blood and Guts for all the wrong reasons. And I got a gripe myself because I'm really sick and tired of people having selective hearing when they listen to this very show. I really mean that. And I'm not going to sit here and shit all over people. I'm not going to sit here and shit on a fan base. All fan bases are toxic. No matter what fan base you're looking at. You could be watching an NBA team. You could be watching an MLB team, NHL, wrestling, AEW, WWE. It doesn't matter, man. All fan bases, when it boils down to it, have that same level of toxicity to them. But it was absolutely outlandish and ridiculous this week to a point where I honestly think a lot of people showed their true colors. I think a lot of people this week exposed themselves for being nearsighted, mediocre, and downright idiotic. And I'm going to go over why I think that and why I think AEW needs to address this situation behind closed doors. I don't get why things are just done with, it is what it is, and that type of mentality. If you don't strive for perfection, then that's not something that I am going to have a long-standing interest in. I will lose my interest very quickly, and it also shows the level of character in oneself. Because if I was mediocre, if I did things half-assed, then I wouldn't be happy with myself. And I have a lot of people that I've surrounded myself with that don't stand for half-assing shit and being mediocre. If you don't strive to be the best, if you don't strive to cover all those little details and be specific, attention to detail orientated, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe people are just cut from a different cloth. I don't know what it is. But all I know is AEW needs to address their one major downfall, their one habit, and that is being inconsistent in delivering on big moments that take away from what should have been a monumental occasion. This happened to them 2 times this year already. A third time, I don't know, man. They usually say 3 strikes and you're out. Stop with the goddamn babying of AEW. They are not immune to criticism. And the reason why I am critical of things is because I care. Stop looking at it the other way. I don't criticize for clicks. I don't criticize for likes. I don't criticize for views. I criticize because I fucking care. I want you all to understand that. So we're going to go over that today. Daniel Bryan, we're going to go over. SummerSlam may be happening early this year. Don't know what that means. Just give me a beach and a mojito, and I'm fine. So WrestleVotes is tweeting about SummerSlam a little bit more frequently. We'll go over what he said today on the podcast. New date for Extreme Rules. WWE has their pay-per-view schedule coming into play as we move on into the summer months. Jinder Mahal. This scares the living shit out of me because the fact that people are now talking about Jinder Mahal. JD, did you see Jinder Mahal on Main Event? No, I would rather not, but it's in the news. He's back with the new group. He's got a new stable. What does this mean? What does it mean? He'll be on Raw in no time. Also, I got news on why Bruce was not at SmackDown, who was there and who has been there a little bit more frequently as of late. And where was Aleister Black on Friday Night SmackDown? Why didn't they consistently show Aleister Black for what would have been a 3rd week in a row? I don't understand it. But I got the lame excuse as to why Aleister Black and his vignette was not airing on Friday Night SmackDown. Plus all your SmackDown, AEW, NXT, and Monday Night bore ratings and news and rumors coming out of these shows this week. I appreciate you guys very much for hanging with me on your Saturday afternoon. This is episode 375 of Off the Script, one of the best podcasts in the entire IWC, if not the best. Come on. You guys know that. Number 1 every single week, live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. It is no question that Off the Script is a monster that continues to steamroll much quicker and much faster than Braun Strowman ever could, man. Follow me on social media. That is Twitter and Instagram, at JD from NY206. Thank you to everybody that has shown support and love this week on social media. We are nearing 32,000 followers on Twitter. I've been on Instagram a little bit much, or a little bit more, I should say, in the last couple of days. I've been uploading just quick thoughts about the recent shows that we've had, and I've been putting some nice collages together with pictures of the show and, you know, legit quotes from the podcast to kind of push the podcast on Instagram as well. If you guys are not on Instagram, I would recommend signing up. And if you guys are on Instagram, Go and follow me, JD from NY206 on Instagram. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. We are on our way to 123,000 subscribers. If you guys want to turn on that bell as well, it greatly helps me out. And it helps you out as well because you guys are automatically notified if YouTube is doing their job, notified of when I go live and when I upload specific episodes of Off the Script. So go and do that and make sure you guys are in the loop everywhere when it comes to this very channel and this podcast every single week. If you guys want to support, you could certainly do that. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. That is one of the best ways to do that. We got some great stuff over there for you guys to sign up annually. We got Off the Script baseball bat beer mugs. These are legit, folks. They're not some cheap-ass shit. They are legit, made of actual baseball bat from the MLB, man. So make sure you guys go and do that. We had a great team help with that. We got koozies. We got T-shirts exclusive to Patreon. We got the Are We Live Off the Script T-shirts. They are over there. Go and sign up annually. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys want to go and support by buying some merchandise, Bonfire is the exclusive home of Off the Scripts. Bonfire.com. Everything you need is linked down below in the description of this very video. We got a great team of sponsors with more on the horizon, ladies and gentlemen. Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Squatch. DrSquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout to save yourself 20% off everything on their website, including their subscription services, which are great because you guys get stuff delivered on a timely basis every single month. If you guys want every month, every 3 months, every 6 months, you guys know what to do. DrSquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout to save 20% off everything. And if you missed any of my videos this week, any of the live streams, Raw, AEW, NXT, and Friday Night SmackDown, we did the throwback edition of SmackDown and the live stream last night. All that stuff is on the channel right now, so you guys got plenty of content to make yourself busy. So go and check all that stuff out. And a quick side note, I was on Twitch on Friday afternoon. We did 5 great, glorious hours of the new Resident Evil 8, a.k.a. Resident Evil Village. We started the new game that came out yesterday. I had a blast. I felt great. The game is fantastic. So if you guys are into that thing or any of that stuff, Twitch is where you can find me gaming all sorts of shit. That is twitch.tv/JD from New York. So if you guys want to know where my Resident Evil 8 stuff is going to be, wondering if it's making its way to YouTube, it is exclusively on Twitch. So go and check that out. And I would appreciate if you guys follow the Twitch streams. Always some cool stuff happening over there. Let's start at the top, man. Let's start with this Jinder Mahal situation. Former WWE champion Jinder Mahal, one of the worst WWE champions of all time, in my professional and honest opinion. He is only dwarfed by the great Khali for worst of all time. Even though I would say, and this was a discussion on Wednesday's AEW podcast with Jesse, somebody mentioned The Miz. I would take Jinder Mahal as being WWE champion over The Miz because everything Jinder Mahal at least did sounded legit, you know, carried himself well. But the fact that this guy was a jobber for what, 6 years, 7 years, and then they made him a WWE champion all because of the way he looked? Nah. Not buying it, bro. I'm not buying it. And the simple fact of the matter is that you had him beat Randy Orton for the championship, and then you had this guy leading SmackDown after you had one of the most successful years ever in 2016, and then you use this guy to basically kill and destroy SmackDown in 2017. There's a reason why I loathe Jinder Mahal, folks, and that is the reason. But now he's back. Now he's back after being plagued with injuries. Jinder Mahal appears to be on his way back to Monday Night Raw soon. Oh my God. Mahal returned to action during the main event tapings where he faced Jeff Hardy. So it is great to see Jeff Hardy being used and utilized correctly by WWE management. Main event against Jinder Mahal. Pretty much Jeff Hardy has one foot out the door at this point, and Matt Hardy has made it no secret that he would love if Jeff joined him in AEW to close out their career and really kind of solidify themselves as one of, if not the best tag team of all time. And I could absolutely see Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy doing their own thing and vying for the AEW Tag Team Championships as one final run approaches for them, both professionally in the sport. Now, Mahal is no longer aligned with the Bollywood boys. That was just awful. But he is now aligned with Indus Sher, a tag team comprised, and I'm going to butcher these guys' names because A, I don't care, and B, I don't care. Rinku Singh and Saurav Gurjar. Yes, because those names are going to really gravitate towards the paying audience watching WWE programming, right? Sure thing. Aside from this match in January that he had at the Superstar Spectacle that aired in India, Mahal hasn't been on WWE TV since appearing on Main Event last May. The last time he appeared on Raw was the April 27th, 2020 episode where he defeated Akira Tozawa, and he hasn't worked a regular schedule since 2019. In 2020, there were plans for Mahal to work as a babyface. That sounds just awful. I don't think anybody wants to cheer Jinder Mahal at all. So there were plans for him to work as a babyface, but based on the recent Main Event tapings, it looks like he is back to being a full-fledged heel. So what does this mean, folks? Why am I talking about Jinder Mahal in the first story of OTS? Why am I mentioning Jinder Mahal at all? Because this is the simple fact of the matter, folks. Drew McIntyre more than likely will win the WWE Championship back. He will win it back by pinning Braun Strowman, and Bobby Lashley will be protected, and he will not be pinned as he drops that WWE Championship at Backlash. This is my opinion. I don't know if this is going to be the case, but the reason why Drew McIntyre is back getting another title shot after what looked to be a conclusion at WrestleMania, where he lost clean to Bobby Lashley. He's back in a title match. It makes me think that WWE is kind of floundering on Bobby Lashley. They don't want Bobby Lashley as WWE champion. They pretty much were doing him a good service by rewarding him after 18 years, the WWE championship. But with fans getting back in attendance and fans being in attendance at WrestleMania, which in my eyes, I thought Drew McIntyre was going to win the title back, being that fans were in attendance for the first time in over a year in Tampa. Maybe WWE wants to usher in fans coming back with Drew McIntyre as their WWE champion. Not even that. The main reason is the fact that they added him back to another match with Bobby Lashley following WrestleMania and losing clean only speaks to me as, well, they're not going to have him lose again. Like, they wanted to do the match, but they also want to include Braun Strowman because Braun Strowman coming out of WrestleMania has no opponents. There's no interest. There's no fan investment to Braun Strowman. And Braun Strowman has no program on Monday night. So they willingly are putting him in this program to basically just put him in this program to give him something to do. As far as I'm concerned, Braun Strowman is there to take the pin from Drew McIntyre. That doesn't seem that far-fetched. That would keep Bobby Lashley strong. He would lose the championship without being pinned. Maybe we get Lashley and Lesnar at SummerSlam with fans in attendance. We don't need the WWE Championship to do that match. We could do it without the championship at all being on the line. So where does this leave Drew McIntyre? Drew McIntyre is the new WWE Champion, in my opinion, coming out of Backlash, which would then give WWE the plan to put Mahal back on Monday Night Raw and give him a heel opponent, McIntyre, to work with. And it would give Mahal some backup as far as in this share, making Drew McIntyre already face a grave threat coming out of winning the WWE Championship for a third time, it would be a 3-on-1 situation with Jinder Mahal vying for the title against his former 3MB member. You know it was bound to happen. And SummerSlam seems to be the situation for these two guys. Jinder Mahal versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Now, I could be speaking out my ass. None of this will happen. Who knows? But the reason why he's on TV, or main event, is WWE wants to start planting seeds that he's there. WWE's not going to put him with a group and make a stable around Jinder Mahal if they don't have any plans to put him back in something important. What other stable is on Monday Night Raw that Jinder Mahal is going to take these guys from main event, put them on Raw? Who else is there for them to feud with? There's no stable on Monday Night Raw. The only thing that makes sense, and I'm sure WWE's thinking that, is Mahal being a former 3MB member, Drew McIntyre being a former 3MB member. Hey, look at where they've come and look at the roads that they've traveled down together. They know each other very well. They used to be friends and they used to work together. Drew McIntyre got fired while Mahal always had a job in WWE. This is what Bruce and Vince are planning for SummerSlam. If I know them, that's what they're planning. And you got to ask yourself this question when Drew McIntyre inevitably wins the championship back. Who on this show is ready to challenge him? He wins the championship back. He's got no challengers. As a babyface champion, he has no heel challengers. None. Braun Strowman's there. Goodbye. Nobody's interested in a one-on-one match between those two. Bobby Lashley and McIntyre, we've seen it. AJ Styles is stuck with Omos. Randy Orton, we've seen it done to death. He's teaming with Matt Riddle now. Keith Lee is off of television. He's on the back of a milk carton somewhere. Retribution is useless. Who else is there? Elias, Jackson Riker. Monday Night Raw is absolutely terrible. They have no heel opponents for a babyface Drew McIntyre when he wins that championship. Mahal is it, guys. Mahal is it. Unless you call somebody up from NXT, which I highly doubt is the case, because WWE doesn't look to NXT to call somebody up and really make into a monster, unless they're going to call up Cross, which I don't see happening. Mahal is your number one contender following Backlash for the WWE Championship, folks. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you may be looking at your SummerSlam main event. Date for this year's Extreme Rules has been revealed. On Tuesday, PW Insider reported the event is slated to take place on Sunday, July 18th. This will be obviously from the Thunderdome in Tampa, Florida at the Yuengling Center. It's been reported over the last month that WWE has plans to take SummerSlam on the road in August. Although a date and location have yet to be determined, the belief is that it will be held outdoors with fans in attendance. WWE hopes to start touring again after SummerSlam, but things are subject to change due to the COVID-19 pandemic. If this actually happens, then Extreme Rules could be the last WWE pay-per-view that they hold without fans. WWE will have Backlash on May 16th. This is Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman. This is the next time they're on pay-per-view, by the way. Next Sunday, I will be live on YouTube. Braun Strowman, McIntyre, Lashley. Bianca Belair versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We got Rhea Ripley versus Asuka versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship. And those are the only three matches announced so far. So WWE has a lot of work to do to make anybody legitimately care about this show next week. And by the looks of it, I don't care about anything on that show. Bianca Belair and Bayley may be the only thing, but even that, the build has been piss poor, which has been a common thing with the women on both Raw and SmackDown. So Extreme Rules, make your plans, July 18th, whatever the case may be. WWE is setting themselves up for their pay-per-view schedule this summer. All I'm looking forward to is SummerSlam, seeing where it is and how early it's going to be, because WrestleVotes actually stated on Twitter this week that WWE could hold SummerSlam earlier than usual this year. It's considered to be amongst the big four or the big five WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam. That has historically been WWE's 4 biggest pay-per-views of the year. But also because WWE is expecting that fans in attendance this year, making SummerSlam even bigger than it has been. Because this will be the first time since WrestleMania that WWE will have fans in attendance, and that has not been a common thing for the last year and a half. The belief for the past few months has been WWE will resume touring after SummerSlam with fans in attendance and pay-per-views moving forward. The hope is the majority of the country will be vaccinated by then. But just like with everything else that has gone on during COVID-19 and the pandemic, things are always subject to change. WrestleVotes tweets out, historically, WWE will hold SummerSlam in the middle of late August. WrestleVotes reported that fans in attendance for this show, that's still on track, but they've also pointed out how WWE has 3 to 4 locations in mind for the show, and it could be held earlier than usual. Now, the only reason why WWE would want to hold SummerSlam earlier than usual is because they want to get fans back earlier than what was projected as being SummerSlam in August. Maybe WWE is ready to just get back on the road, start making money, start filling these venues with fans, and that's what they want to have happen. And they're willing to do that by moving SummerSlam up maybe a few weeks, maybe a month. Who knows? Who knows? SummerSlam right now, we don't know where it's going to be. There was rumors that it was going to be in Boston. Boston's not opening up until after the summer's over. Full capacity and doing whatever they got to do to get fans back at sporting events. That's not happening. There's some political indifference there. Bullshit, in my honest opinion. That's not going to have Boston, the city of Boston, open until after August is all over with. WWE may have wanted SummerSlam in Boston just to kind of pay them back for not being there last year because of the pandemic. So that may be out of the question. WWE wants fans, but they might not want to wait until September. They want fans back early. So they may be finding a venue or beach somewhere where they're going to be able to get fans in attendance. And they're going to be able to get SummerSlam done early. So then they could get back on the road and get fans in buildings way earlier than September. This is what they want to do. Nick Khan, WWE's president, no relation to Tony, has stated that when WWE goes and does SummerSlam, after that, it's going to be consistent with fans in attendance for all shows. Weekly shows, Monday Night Raw, NXT, Friday Night SmackDown, and all pay-per-view events moving forward. So I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of SummerSlam talk. We got 3 or 4 locations. Nobody really knows. 1 or 2 of them are being highly touted right now, with 4 in total being discussed. So WrestleVotes did say, last time he tweeted about SummerSlam, don't expect anything before June. So around June, WWE will maybe announce when tickets go on sale, big SummerSlam packages, date, location, all that stuff. They're pretty much ironing out the details right now. But it's exciting. It's exciting because everybody, like the report said, will be vaccinated by then. It may be a destination location. Back to being destination wrestling events. WrestleMania was with Tampa, SummerSlam. Who knows where it's going to be? It's going to be interesting, man. WWE just needs to do what they need to do. Make sure everybody is safe. And I pray to God that the card is worth the price of admission. Because WrestleMania's card was not. Outside of Roman Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan, and maybe Bianca and Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Outside that, nothing really spoke to me as saying, hey, I want to go to Tampa for WrestleMania. WWE needs to build an appropriate card for SummerSlam to pique everybody's interest. They definitely have the resources to do so, but WWE is known for being lazy. So we'll see what happens. But fans will be back in attendance, and it may happen earlier than usual. Daniel Bryan, free agent. That happened earlier than everybody expected. Daniel Bryan and his contract has officially expired from WWE. All the rumors, all the speculation, all the talk about Daniel Bryan, contract being up at the end of the summer, contract being up in August, contract being up in September. His contract was up after WrestleMania had concluded. His contract was up after SmackDown ended last week when he lost to Roman Reigns. Done. As noted earlier this week, Bryan was moved from the active roster on WWE.com into the alumni section. Fightful did report this week that his contract has indeed expired. Per the report, his contract had either expired or was set to expire sometime last week, and he was officially no longer under contract after his match with Roman Reigns. After the match, he was written out of storylines when Reigns attacked him with a steel chair. Per the stipulation, he is now, quote-unquote, banished from SmackDown. So that's a little bit of the backstory there. Bryan was asked about his contract status the prior week during an interview with TV Line. He did not give a date when his deal was expiring, but he did indicate that it wasn't in September, as many have speculated, and he even went on to say that his neck was wrecked after a tag team match involving himself teaming with Cesaro against Seth Rollins and Jey Uso the week before he wrestled Roman Reigns one-on-one for the Universal Championship. When he mentioned in this interview that his neck was wrecked, it almost came off as if, all right, his contract is not up, but maybe he's just stepping away to heal up because he's a little bit banged up. Maybe he's just stepping away to heal some nagging injuries, and he will be back on WWE TV after he's all better. But that was not the case either. Daniel Bryan told TV Line, and I quote, "It's funny that people gravitate towards this month of September. And I think it's because that's when my last contract ended. But it doesn't end in September." He went on to continue and say, and I quote, "I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like. I had a tag team match on SmackDown that involved Cesaro and myself teaming up against Seth Rollins and Jey Uso. It was a lot of fun, but my neck was just wrecked. I'm going to be 40 in May, and my daughter likes to get on my shoulders to pick leaves from the Japanese maple in front of our house." And he goes on to say that he couldn't do it the last time he was home because of the pain in his neck. You get to the point where it's like, how long can I do this full time and still be able to do those kinds of things with my daughter? What's the right balance between part-time and that sort of thing? It may be that it's just every once in a while when the urge strikes, or maybe like a schedule where it's like 8 months on and 4 months off. One of the coolest things about wrestling and just being an independent contractor, which we all know WWE talents are not independent contractors, being an independent contractor in general is that you can say, well, I really only want to do this amount of work. What that amount of work is, I have no idea yet. I still have to figure it out. But I also need to be respectful of the people who are relying on me to go to work. I have to give them an answer sooner rather than later. I'm trying to figure that out. Trying to be responsible as an employee of somebody who's taken care of our family very well. But then also trying to take the time to figure it out." End quote. Now, Bryan has expressed desire to work in other promotions, but this is not news to anybody. He said this on and off several times throughout the year, and that does not mean he's not going to resign with the WWE, but he does desire, because he loves, he lives, he breathes pro wrestling, to go out there and maybe wrestle at Kenny Omega, maybe go and wrestle at a Wrestle Kingdom inside the Tokyo Dome against an Okada, against a Will Ospreay, and guys like that, a Jay White. Those are things that he's always desired and always talked about very willingly and very freely. But that does not mean that WWE is not going to offer him a new contract. That doesn't mean WWE is going to offer him, less money and willingly let him go somewhere else. They're going to give him the world because they know how important Daniel Bryan is and how beloved Daniel Bryan is as a performer. This thing is all up in the air. This interview with TV Line, if you really want to break it down, it really is what Bryan is thinking. If you just pinpoint and pick out some of the things that he's saying, his neck is just wrecked. Is that a case? I don't know. Bryan is a very physical performer. He may be banged up. He may be banged up to a point where the schedule that WWE had him working was not to his liking, but he did it anyway because he has an obligation to show up to work. Maybe his neck is wrecked. Maybe he just wants to sit home, reevaluate himself, come up with the schedule, bring it to WWE, sit down, talk money, sign a new deal. Maybe he wrestles for them less than what we've seen of him. We don't know. He could be hurt. He may be home contemplating, do I want to stay? But I also need more time at home because I'm getting a little bit older and I want to do these things with my daughter. I want to do these things with my wife. All because he's a free agent, that doesn't mean he's going to sign the dotted line with Tony Khan. Doesn't mean he's going to show up at Double or Nothing and wrestle Kenny Omega at All Out. Doesn't mean he's going to show up at All Out. Doesn't mean he's going to go to New Japan. Doesn't mean he's going to show up on Impact. That doesn't mean he's going back to Ring of Honor, who I heard also wants to sit down and talk to Daniel Bryan because he's an alum of Ring of Honor. He's an ROH legend. That doesn't mean any of those things. It means that Daniel Bryan right now is a free agent and he's home contemplating every single decision that he could possibly make. He's talking about it with his family. He's talking about it with his wife. He's going over what he wants to do as far as being a father at home to his daughter and a husband to Brie. It doesn't mean he's going anywhere. He wants a lesser schedule. And he mentioned the independent contractor situation as well. One of the coolest things he says about wrestling is just being an independent contractor in general. Daniel Bryan, of all people, knows he's not an independent contractor with WWE. That is a very telling line in this interview. One of the coolest things about being a pro wrestler is being an independent contractor in general. If Bryan was to walk away from WWE, he would be an independent contractor. He may just want to sit down and say, I want to go into business for myself. I want to make my own schedule. I want to work who I want to work, when I want to work, and that's what I want to do. I'm willing to give you me, and I'm willing to give you everything I built up over the years of sacrifice to my body to give to you to wrestle when I want against your guy. And we're going to make money together. Or go to Japan and do the things that he's not allowed to do. This is a great time to be Daniel Bryan. He's got the world by the legit balls here. He can make just as much, if not more money than what WWE offers him. We don't know what WWE is going to offer him. WWE may lowball him and not really think that Daniel Bryan at this age of 40 in his condition is as valuable as Daniel Bryan 6 years ago, 7 years ago. But you got to sit down and think what Daniel Bryan has meant to the business. What type of inspiration Daniel Bryan is, what Daniel Bryan can still do in that ring. We've seen it at WrestleMania on the biggest stage of them all, against Roman on SmackDown, against guys like Cesaro. WWE's not going to willingly take him and just say, you know what, we're going to lowball you here. You either take it or leave it, blah, blah, blah. No. Daniel Bryan will walk. He will get himself better, and he will go do what he wants to do and what WWE will not be giving him the opportunity to do. He's also got to take into consideration, what has he got left to do in WWE? You know, the money might not be everything. Bryan was never the type of guy to ask for multi-million dollar contracts. He was never that type of guy. He doesn't look like that type of guy. He doesn't come off like that type of guy. If I was to meet Daniel Bryan, never met Daniel Bryan before, but if I was to meet Daniel Bryan, I would automatically assume that he's one of the nicest guys, not only in the industry, but just as a human being. He's just a good human being. That's why everybody loved him winning the championship at 30, because we all looked at him and looked at what he did and the struggles he went through, and we mirrored ourselves after him. Everything that he was going through on this fictional TV show, a lot of people were dealing with in their own personal life, whether it was at home or whether it was at work, working for somebody that didn't give two shits about you. Daniel Bryan is not about money. Daniel Bryan, when it comes down to it, if I was a betting man, is going to be about what he wants to do. A legacy being built. What has he got to do on SmackDown? Nothing. He's already reached the pinnacle. He was WWE champion. He held the championship. He wrestled Brock Lesnar. He wrestled Roman Reigns. Could have been a little bit better of a storyline, but we got the match that we wanted. I wish the storyline was built a little bit more around the Yes Movement and Roman Reigns kind of being buried at that point by fans for 6 years. But we got the match itself that we wanted. There's nothing more for him to do on SmackDown. If he goes to Monday Night Raw, yeah, there's more for him to do on Monday Night Raw that he hasn't done yet. But nobody wants to go to Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw is an eyesore to the industry right now. It is legitimately a landfill for everybody to go to and their careers die there. It literally is pro wrestling's fucking garbage heap. Figuratively speaking. Literally speaking as well. Because careers there, they're never the same. It's like the Bermuda Triangle. Done. Bryan is about opportunity. He's not about money. Bryan is about family. He's not about money. If Bryan was about money, he probably would have already signed a WWE contract. Now, Bryan could be using AEW and New Japan as leverage. Edge did it. For what the fuck do I know? Daniel Bryan making himself a free agent, he could easily say, you know what? I'm going to hang around a little bit. It might not be the way you think about it, because Daniel Bryan, like I just said, is not about money, but WWE may be thinking that. WWE may be so obsessed with signing this guy that he doesn't go somewhere else that they think that Bryan may be using them for leverage like Edge did, because Edge openly admitted that he talked to Tony Khan and Vince gave him $3 million per year for 3 years to come back and wrestle. After 9 years of being away, you know what? We don't want you working over there. We'll clear you. Come over here. We'll give you $3 million. So either way you look at it, Daniel Bryan has got the world by the balls in this situation. But when it boils down to it, it's about what he wants to do as far as his career goes. It's not about money. Would I be thrilled if he goes somewhere else? Yes, because it just opens up a whole new Pandora's box of excitement. A whole new just world of what is out there, man. Shit that we might not have even thought about could be happening. Daniel Bryan goes to Monday Night Raw. Yeah, it could be good, but is it going to make people watch Monday Night Raw? I don't know. I don't know. Will they be booking Bryan the right way? WWE has Daniel Bryan a free agent. They may promise him this. They may promise him that. Put him on Raw. And then it never usually is something that is delivered upon. They give you the money, and then they half-ass what they promise you. Or they put him on Raw, and they don't book him correctly, and you know this creative team is complete shit. So Bryan is going to take all of this into consideration. He really is. But Bryan knew before WrestleMania that he was leaving WWE. Meltzer noted that Daniel Bryan said in promos, if you guys remember, that WrestleMania 37 could be his last. So Bryan, even though we didn't think about it then, and we thought about it as far as, well, he may be with WWE, but he might not be in the main event picture anymore. This may be his last shot in the main event picture. It was, Daniel Bryan, this could be my last WrestleMania because I might not be with the company anymore. Never mind being with the company and not being in the main event, I might not be with the company anymore. So Meltzer stated that the word was starting to get out amongst people in WWE by Saturday that he was no longer under contract. Meltzer said, I knew something was up on Saturday because I had asked somebody, so where is he going? Raw? NXT? What's the deal? I got an interesting message on that. It was basically a message that kind of said, it talked some out of the situation. It talked some about that maybe he's going to leave, and that made me believe that his contract was coming up due to all of this, and he did an interview just a couple of days ago where he said, everybody thinks my contract is due in September because he signed his last deal in September. Whatever it is, it was up on April 30th. Meltzer then added, I guess he was going to give them until right after WrestleMania this year, which is why all those promos were that way, being that it could be his last WrestleMania because his contract was actually coming up. The agreement was that he would go through WrestleMania, yeah, and now he's a free agent. He can go anywhere he wants at any time. He is no longer tied to WWE. In regards to the speculation on where he might go, it sounds like Bryan hasn't told anybody. And he shouldn't tell anybody. Meltzer said, if anyone tells you that they know, they are 100% lying to you. He may know right now. If he knows, I would be very secure to say that his wife knows. Meltzer added that Bryan could still show up in WWE or he could show up elsewhere whenever he wants. He could do whatever he wants. And then this obviously led to WWE removing Daniel Bryan off of the active roster list on .com, and they moved him to the alumni section. When wrestlers are moved to the alumni section, it's usually a sign that they are no longer with the company. WWE wrote Bryan out of SmackDown storylines on Friday when he lost to Roman Reigns. Per the match stipulation, like I said, he's banished from SmackDown since he was unable to win the Universal Championship. One thing of note here, folks, and I'm just basing this off of historical reasons. When WWE has somebody like a Daniel Bryan or a bigger name or anybody for that matter that's a free agent, and they are not signing with the WWE, and they know, WWE knows, and that individual knows that they're not re-signing with the WWE, WWE has a tendency to get petty. They have a tendency to not mention them anymore. All vocabulary of them are removed from WWE television. They're not mentioned in any way, shape, or form via promo, via video package. They're not shown any clips of that person anymore. But on Friday, if you guys watch SmackDown and the Throwback Edition, Daniel Bryan was mentioned not only by Paul Heyman, but by Roman Reigns as well. He was mentioned by Cesaro in promo as well. If WWE had any feeling that Bryan was finished completely with them, then they wouldn't have mentioned Daniel Bryan on television. This is just my personal feeling, seeing how things have transpired over the years doing what I'm doing. If Bryan was giving WWE a hint that he may be going somewhere, or if WWE had a feeling that Bryan was done with the company and going to AEW or going to New Japan or going to Impact, wherever, Ring of Honor, they would not have mentioned him on TV. The fact that 3 people in the opening segment mentioned Daniel Bryan indicates to me that WWE and Bryan are in talking negotiations and that they feel Bryan is maybe leaning towards coming back. I don't know. Then I look at the Jon Moxley situation. Moxley kind of, I guess, gave the perception that he was interested in staying and they might be willing to get a deal done, and he was willing to talk, and then he shows up in a promo, and then he shows up at Double or Nothing, DDT and Kenny Omega on a bunch of poker chips. So it could be one of those situations as well, but that's Moxley, and that's not Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, I don't think, is going to walk away from WWE without telling them first what he wants to do, because WWE has taken care of not only Bryan, taking care of Brie, taking care of him medically, taking care of his family. Bryan is not going to walk away from WWE without letting them know first what he is planning to do. So WWE definitely feels like the door is open for Bryan to come back. They're leaving that door open. And if they had any feeling that he's going elsewhere, he would not be mentioned on TV. That's just the way I see it. And WWE's pushing hard to sign Daniel Bryan after his contract expired. Meltzer talked about this as well. His deal expired, as you guys know, and the fact that the deal expired does not mean that he will be willing to sign with another company, given that he's a major name that would be available immediately to companies like AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling. One would have to assume that WWE is going to offer him a lot of money to stay with them, and they would be more willing to come to an agreement on reducing his schedule since he is banged up and he wants to spend more time with family. So they're going after him hard. They're giving him time to think, and they are going to go after him when ready aggressively with a huge sum of money. So the door is open for Bryan to come back. They know it. Bryan knows it. And I don't think Bryan is going to go anywhere without letting WWE know. This is a very interesting situation, folks. I'm not saying you can't fantasy book. I'm not saying that you can't go out there and imagine what Daniel Bryan would look like in an AEW or a New Japan. But it's unrealistic for you to do so. Don't get excited about something that might not happen. Get excited when Bryan is actually on television on Wednesday night. Get excited when Bryan shows up in the Tokyo Dome and attacks somebody and shows himself on that show or that pay-per-view event, whichever he shows up on. Don't get excited about something right now that is not known to anybody outside of Daniel Bryan and his family. I just find it laughable. Everybody's talking about where Bryan's going and what he's doing and this and that. It's a point where it's stupid. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. What it boils down to is, I think we are all in agreement here. We're all in the same boat. We're all fans of Daniel Bryan. No matter what he does, where he goes, we are lucky to get somebody like Daniel Bryan in our lifetime, that he is that good and that good of a human being. We are that lucky to watch somebody like that perform while we are still able to. Because nobody, I think, can say they're not a fan of Daniel Bryan. Nobody is going to go out there and say, I don't give a shit about Daniel Bryan. When Daniel Bryan's not around and he can't do it anymore, or God forbid he's not here on this earth anymore, you're all going to feel a certain way about it. You're going to appreciate Daniel Bryan for what he's done. Appreciate him now, because guys like that, they don't come around all that often. We are into the second half of today's show, ladies and gentlemen, and I just want to make sure you all know that today's show is sponsored by Dr. Squatch, drsquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off, man. I think the 20% off is the largest percentage off as far as the discount goes on anything that I am currently associated with. So if you guys want to save some money on some really great shit, it's Dr. Squatch, man. I love their soaps and I love their shampoo and conditioner. I use it every day. I love the cold brew cleanse. That's my favorite bar of soap, but don't take my word for it. I've had people reach out to me saying that they love the grapefruit IPA as well. But either way you look at it, man, it smells great. It's all natural. It's all organic. drsquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout to save yourself 20% off everything on their site. And I want to thank them for being such a great friend and a great sponsor right here on Off the Script. Wednesday, man. Wednesday was a day that I was looking forward to for many, many weeks. As soon as the match was announced, I was excited for it. I was happy that the match was coming to AEW. I was happy that we were getting it back on TV. A lot of people wondered, is it better on TV or is it better, say, for a pay-per-view? I got the reason why they did it on TV. Either way you look at it, it was supposed to happen in New Jersey, in Newark, before the pandemic. And who knows what the match would have looked like then, but it transformed into Pinnacle versus Inner Circle on Dynamite. Blood and Guts was reintroduced to finish, quote unquote, I think, this feud between MJF and the Pinnacle against Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle, man. I did the podcast on Wednesday, and in typical New York fashion, I get loud, I get boisterous, and I get very animated over things that I know should have been done better. Okay? A lot of people interpreted this as I hated the match. A lot of people interpreted this as I wanted Chris Jericho to fall off of a steel cage onto solid concrete. I don't really understand how people could easily misconstrued that notion. I never wanted Chris Jericho to fall onto concrete. Nobody wanted Chris Jericho to fall onto concrete, man. But I need you guys to understand that AEW is not immune to criticism. They're not perfect. They're trying. They are an alternative to what we get on Monday and Friday. They are a great alternative. Tony Khan is somebody that's been in this industry for a little over a year. And I appreciate everything he's done up until this point. He's giving us everything that we want from WWE in only a year and a half. He's giving us captivating storylines. He's giving us consistency on a weekly basis. He's giving us a Dynamite show that has a sense of importance every single week. Championships mean something. Pay-per-views are special. Pay-per-view main events are special. The hype around these big matches is there. You feel it. I don't blame Tony Khan for a lot of shit. I praise him mostly. But as far as everything is concerned with Blood and Guts, it really didn't sit well with me as far as the reaction after it was all over. I did the podcast on Wednesday, and I usually do it with Jesse on Wednesday night. And the conversation between him and I, always friendly, he's one of my very good friends, would not have him on the show if that was not the case. But a lot of people took what we said, what I said specifically, and they took it to heart, where I lost over 50 subs off of that one live stream in itself. Now, I don't know who's out there taking little old me and my opinion to heart to a point where you're going to go unsubscribe from Off the Script and the channel and say, you know what, I listened to this guy for 5 years and this is the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back. Out of all the things that I said in the last 5 years, or however long you've been listening to me, in all the years you've been listening to me, what I said on Wednesday night was the one thing that you looked at and said, you know what, I'm going to click unsubscribe. Really, really bizarre behavior from a lot of different people, man. Really bizarre behavior from a lot of people as far as exposing themselves as to who they really are. It's unbelievable to me. Now, I don't get what I said and why it was such a big deal to you. Like, you people, I'm sure, listen to other podcasts. You listen to Busted Open. You listen to Fightful. You listen to Steven Larson. You listen to all these other guys in the community, and they openly praise Monday Night Raw on nights where it doesn't deserve jack shit. You're willing to listen to that, and you're willing to listen to someone spew bullshit like that, knowing that they're blatantly lying to your face. But what I said on Wednesday night is, oh my God, a cardinal sin. He can never make fun of AEW. I find it funny how once upon a time, everybody called me an AEW shill. I find it funny how people used to make fun. Oh, JD's on Tony Khan's payroll. Where are those people now? You see, the one thing that I want you guys to understand about me and why people look at me as a refreshing alternative to the norm in the community, where people are very, very scared to engage in any type of topical discussion negatively about these shows because they don't want to ruin relationships, or they don't want to ruin, PR, their relationships with PR. They might not get an interview, or they might not look good in front of this person or that person, or they got whole rosters following them and they don't want to come off like some negative prick. That never bothered me, man. That never bothered me. I would rather be honest and true to myself and give you guys the same exact fucking feeling that everybody else is feeling, instead of covering that up and hiding that and bullshitting you to get a couple of extra connections, a couple of extra opportunities to rub elbows, a couple of extra subscribers, because everybody's afraid to hear negativity. Everybody wants to go down this positive fucking road. I don't get it. If something sucks, I'm going to tell you it sucks and why it sucks and what I would do better. If something is good, which is in this industry nowadays very few and far between, I will let you know. I will let you know. But I don't understand why you're willing to listen to somebody obviously lie to you about Monday Night Raw and the fucking positive that's coming out of Monday Night Raw, when we all know that there's no positive to be found on Monday night. Stop the shit. Stop the shit. You're willing to listen to that, but you won't listen to me criticize AEW on one small thing that happened on Wednesday night. I don't understand you people. I never said the match sucked. Number one, the match was great. I loved the match. In fact, I took Blood and Guts over every other adaptation of War Games that NXT did at TakeOver the last 4 years. But people interpreted what they want. People listened, and then they listened to me speak, and they heard something else because of an agenda. They got to shit on me. They got to do this. They got to do that. They got to pretend that they're better than me. They got to pretend like their value or their opinion is more valuable than mine, that their opinion is right and I'm wrong. Listen, everybody says the same shit. Everybody acts the same way, that their opinion is better than the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. We all do it. We're all guilty of doing it. But man, I'm not wrong in this case. I'm hardly wrong ever when it comes to the shit that I do. You just don't see it yet. How many people I've converted to seeing WWE as good to now seeing WWE as the fucking shithole that it's in? I feel like fucking Negan. I'm saving people, man. I'm saving people from fucking WWE. But I'm not wrong in this case. I'm not. There's no way that I could possibly be wrong because what I'm stating, you guys all watched with your own eyes. So why are you so blind to the fact that what you saw was shit? Because it's AEW. We can't shit on precious AEW. Let me tell you something, man. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Now, I watched Dynamite. I watched Blood and Guts. I loved the match. The match was great. Everybody worked their ass off there. Sammy Guevara, MVP of the match. Chris Jericho, MJF, Jake Hager, Wardlow, FTR, Shawn Spears worked their ass off in that match, man. This was a great story. The intensity and the physicality, the brutality of this match was exactly what should have been in a match named Blood and Guts. And I'll get to what WWE said about it in a little bit. Everything was great. I love the fact that we got the intensity between FTR and Santana and Ortiz, just based off what they said in their promos. That's a future AEW tag team title match down the line, and it's going to mean something more when it does happen coming out of this match. I love the fact that Shawn Spears was given an opportunity in this match to prove that he does belong with those types of names on this show in this company. I love that we got Wardlow continuing to build himself up as a potential main event guy. He's got everything working for him. He's a very good promo, and he looks great. Sammy Guevara, I don't need to say anything. He's MJF's number one enemy right now next to Chris Jericho, and he's the protege to Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle. And that has been very well documented with the relationship between Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. I loved every aspect of what those 10 men did in that match. I love the fact that Sammy Guevara was the one who gave up and surrendered because he is Chris Jericho's protege. MJF knows that. And MJF and Sammy Guevara have a fucking hatred for each other, quote unquote, that has been built up on television. So the poetic justice that it ended up being Sammy Guevara was a beautiful thing. I loved the idea of the ending with MJF pushing Jericho off, because not only did it embody what MJF stated, that he would do anything he has to do to take Jericho's spot, he will do it. He shoved somebody off of a steel cage after he told everybody that he was not going to do it. Surrender or I push him. They surrendered. He still pushed him. That's another aspect I loved about it. He told everybody he wasn't going to do it, and he did it anyway after he got what he wanted. Perfect MJF character fucking trait right there. Everything about this match was great. I don't understand why people didn't hear that on Wednesday night. Y'all wanted to leave 50 deep because I criticized AEW for something that should have been blatantly obvious to everybody. I don't understand you. Now, I don't know what type of person you guys are. I really don't. I'm the type of guy that gets upset when he messes up a sentence on a fucking live stream, or messes up a sentence and I got to redo it and edit it in Adobe after the fact. When I do the podcast here on Saturday night, I get upset when I accidentally hit the wrong key on my Elgato Stream Deck. When I'm on Monday Night Raw, I use the regular off-the-script intro. Or I'm on Friday night and I accidentally hit the Monday Night Raw intro and I gotta cover my ass live on stream with 2,000 people watching. I hate the fact that when I'm on this live stream thing that I'm doing, I'm on a Raw live stream or a SmackDown live stream, and I get a news article wrong, or I forget I have to cover a news article and I forget that it's there and I don't talk about it on the show. These are things that bother me, man. These are things that bother me. I like to strive for perfection. I'm the type of guy, this is the latest example of it all. I was playing Resident Evil Village on Friday on Twitch. I told the live audience I wanted to stop right before the first boss fight in the game. I didn't. I trucked on. I wanted to see what was next because I was becoming addicted to it. I loved the experience. I wanted it to continue. So I got to the boss fight. I beat the boss fight in my first shot, but I wasted a little bit too much ammo because there was a boss phase in the battle that I thought was a damage phase to the boss. And people in the chat were telling me, JD, to continue the boss fight, you got to run up the tower and run up the stairs, and then the next sequence would come in. So I wasted 12 shotgun shells. I wasted 12 sniper bullet ammo, right? And I put bullets into this thing, and it wasn't damaging the boss until I finally got up top, and I beat the boss. But at the time I beat the boss, I wasted all my ammo. I had nothing left. And in a Resident Evil game, you know that ammo is very hard to come by, and you need to conserve every last little bit of ammo. I said to everybody in the chat, should I keep it because I didn't die? I beat it in one shot. Or should I do it over again and conserve my ammo in a better way so that I have ammo coming out of the boss fight unlike I do now? Everybody was like, no, keep it. Save it in a different file. If you want to go back and do it over again, by all means, do it over again. But that was great. You'll find more ammo. You can construct and craft more ammo. You can buy more ammo. People were giving me, excuses for my imperfection. But deep down inside, I was asking myself, do I really do it over again? Do I want to go through that again? Do I want to go and do it better, or do I want to stay with it as mediocre as it was? I could do it better. I know I could do it better, but you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it over again. Why? Because it wasn't to my liking. It wasn't me. It wasn't perfect. This is the type of person I am, folks. This is the type of person I am. I don't understand why AEW fans look at their company as, oh my God, they're perfect. There's no imperfections whatsoever on AEW. I don't get it. Do you watch another baseball team or a football team or a basketball team? Has your team ever played and they struggled mightily through a season? Have you ever hated the coach and a decision he made? Have you ever hated a pitcher who fucking sucks consecutively and ruined games and has given your team no chance to win at all? 8 runs in the first inning, and by all means, the game is over in the first inning. There's no way your team's coming back. Knowing that the other team has their number one guy going against your number one guy, and your number one guy shit the bed. You never complained about the performance of somebody. You never complained about a coaching decision on somebody's behalf. You never complained that the team played badly and poorly. I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. How many times I said that they sucked? How many of you guys watch a football team specifically? Maybe you're a hometown guy. Maybe you like somebody. Maybe you're a Cowboys fan. Maybe you're a Redskins fan. Maybe you're a Green Bay fan. You ever mention something along the lines of them playing poorly, or what you would change differently, what you would do differently, criticizing decisions made? Why is it any different with pro wrestling fans? I criticize WWE for the shit that they give us every single week, and I tell everybody how I would do it better and what should be done. The majority of you agree. There are some people out there that say I complain for views, complain for clicks. I don't understand you people. I don't. It's so bizarre to me why AEW fans are so just out of this world nonsensical when it comes to criticizing AEW. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. You're an asshole. I'm unsubscribing. I'm sorry, man. This is what I do. Why would I ever come on here and play the Meltzer fucking game and be pro AEW? Oh, I can't say anything bad about them. Would you respect me more if I did that? Or would you respect me less? Seems like I can't win with the fucking people on this website, with the people in this community. I don't understand you. Now, granted, the way I came off on Wednesday immediately was a whole burst of energy. But that's how I am as a person. I call out imperfection because I would do the same thing to myself. I would do the same thing to myself, and I do every single day. Now, I'm no fucking scientist. I don't work with metal or steel. I don't work in construction. I don't know how things work and how things are constructed a certain way. But all I know is when I watch somebody falling off of a steel cage and I watch somebody go crashing through a stage, I think everybody, you, me, and everybody, should know the sound of somebody hitting quote-unquote steel and going through a stage. I don't recall somebody being thrown off of a steel cage and then hitting down below and it sounding like a whole fucking bunch of crumpled up fucking plastic bags from Walmart. Or landing on top of a fucking bunch of 24 packs of Charmin toilet paper. I don't recall steel after the fact looking like cardboard you could buy at CVS for $2.99 for your son or daughter to do a science experiment on or a science project on. Yet this is what we saw. This is what we saw. AEW thought it was okay to shoot it the way that they shot it. On Wednesday night, I called it out, and I'm public enemy number one because I called exactly what I saw out on Wednesday's podcast. Now, AEW has a glaring issue. AEW has a major habit, a bad habit forming right now, and that is delivering on big matches, but shitting the bed when it comes to the ending. Remember when I just told you about how much of a perfectionist I am? I mean, it runs deep in my family. I mean, my brother recorded the off-the-script theme music. If a note is a fucking beard hair off in post-edit, my brother's going to go back and fucking redo whatever he's got to redo until it's perfect. Can you imagine the backlash that people got in this match? All 10 men listening and reading to the backlash of this match. Can you imagine how they feel? Don't you think they want the same thing? Don't you think that they want, oh man, this match is great, and they want the ending to be just as perfect that it complements the rest of the match? How do you think those guys feel listening and hearing and reading all the bullshit that people wrote for the last 72 hours about the ending of that match? The ending of the match was the topic of discussion so much that it took away from 10 men's performances in that match because of one simple mistake that was made, and it should have been the other way. I don't understand it. Not only was the match itself ruined, no matter how great the match is, they fucked up the ending. AEW has a bad habit of doing this. They did it at Revolution with Omega and Moxley. Omega and Moxley had a fucking great match. What was the one thing that people talked about? The dud, the explosion dud, the sparklers that went off. That was supposed to be the implosion of the death match. Moxley finished, right? What happened? It was national news in the pro wrestling scene. AEW botches big finish. It's the only thing people talked about. They weren't talking about the performances from Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega and the fact that they fucking tore each other's flesh and brutalized each other and gave their lives and their bodies for our entertainment. The only thing that people talked about was the goddamn fucking ending. Is that fair? Do I blame that on AEW? Yes and no. AEW had every fucking resource to change the goddamn ending. Why do we need to come to a conclusion, a winner be decided, and then have a goddamn explosion at the end of it? Who called for that? Why does the ring and the ringside area need to be exploded after the winner is determined? You could have saved yourself a whole bunch of headache after that. As long as we've seen some poofs and some puffs and some explosions in the match, I was good to go for the rest of the night. The fact that that ending happened the way that it did and a botch of magnitude levels that you'll never see again happened, it ruined everything in that match. This blood and guts match is not on that level, but damn, is it fucking close. That match was great and was ruined by a shit ending. Now, if AEW did Revolution differently and they didn't have the ring explode, we would be talking about Moxley and Omega. if AEW did Blood and Guts differently, then we would be talking about Jericho and MJF and the great story that it was with MJF willingly doing whatever he has to do to take Jericho's spot after Jericho's legendary 30-year career. All they needed to do was shoot it different. I don't give a shit what you had to do or what angle you had to shoot it from, but shoot it different. If I'm watching at home and I don't see Jericho land, but I see the visual of him being pushed off the top, that visual in itself would have been 1,000 times better, and I probably wouldn't have ranted on Wednesday night, and everybody would have lived in harmonious joy. Or maybe don't come up with the ending and do something different in the ring where MJF is a brutal son of a bitch and he brutalizes Chris Jericho to a point where they end up surrendering anyway, either winning by pinfall or submission, and not going to the top of the cage, which in pro wrestling world is generic and boring and uncreative. Oh, look, there's a roof on a cage. Let's go up on top of the cage. I appreciate it, but how many times have we seen it? All they needed to do was shoot it different. All they needed to do was come up with the way that gave you the visual of Jericho falling to his demise without actually showing him landing. And we wouldn't be here discussing this right now. But what did AEW do? They showed him landing and they protected him at all costs. The fall was ruined by Casper mattresses, a Serta Perfect sleeper, cardboard staging. Again, I don't work with steel or metal, but I know that steel and metal don't sound like that on Wednesday night. I know a stage is not made of fucking whatever I could go to and walk into Sleepy's. Give me a break. And this is what I called out on Wednesday, yet I lost 50 subs over it. And yes, I got called every name in the fucking book. And normally being this YouTube content creator and being in this field, you kind of develop an immunity to all the bullshit. You either block, mute, or just move on and ignore. Let them fucking say what they want because, hey, I'm making money. I'm making a damn good living doing this shit. I don't need you and your fucking extra commentary. I don't give a fuck what you say. I really don't. But I know that steel's not supposed to sound like that. Steel's not supposed to look like that. And a stage is not supposed to look like that either. And I don't want Jericho to fall off a cage and hear that sound. Where's the impact? Where's the memorable impact that he's supposed to have? Try. If you can't do it, then don't do it at all. I'm not asking Jericho to fall through a fucking stage at 50 years old. This was the excuse. Oh, what did you want him to fall on concrete? No, you fucking idiot. I don't expect Jericho to fall through concrete. I don't expect anybody to fall through fucking concrete. But I don't want to watch a goddamn magician perform in front of me for an hour, and then after the fucking show is over, hey guys, you could stay around and I'll show you how all the fucking illusions actually happened. I don't want that. Would you want that? Where's your suspension of belief in this situation? AEW fans, you're either great and exciting and you're fun to be around and fun to have a fucking great discussion with, or you could be like you were tonight. You could expose yourself for being the biggest fucking idiots in the entire community, bar none. I get enough of this from WWE fans. You were just as bad as them this week. And that's not a fucking camp you want to be in, man. I'll tell you that right now. They are sub-level IQ cretins. You don't want to be down to where they are at their level. I don't really understand you, man. The finish took away from everything in that match. If you don't see it that way, if you're okay with the Casper fucking mattress and the goddamn cardboard staging, it says a lot about what you really want out of a promotion, man. It says what you really want out of life in general, because I don't do anything that is that detrimental to the attention of detail. I am so cynical and so hard on myself that I lose sleep over this fucking shit. And you guys are okay. It is what it is. It is what it is. He fell. He's 50 years old. Would you want him to fall on concrete? Why don't you accept it for what it was? The match was great. The ending's not going to ruin it for me. I don't give a fuck. Because you're not a perfectionist. You're okay with living mediocre fucking lives and doing mediocre shit in your daily routine. I want to be the best. I want to own the best. I want to look the best. I want to feel the best. I want to do the best I can. If nobody is sitting there with that same mentality, maybe you need to rethink yourself, man. Nobody I know and I surround myself with wants to be mediocre. Everything that you put your heart and soul and love into should be the absolute best. In this case, Tony Khan had to look out for 10 fucking guys, and he let every one of them down by that ending. I'm not saying that AEW can't get better. They will, and they need to. And I hope this is a lesson learned. I thought the fucking Omega Moxley shit was a lesson learned. Clearly it wasn't. Clearly it wasn't. This was even bigger of a topical discussion than the Moxley Omega shit because of the hype surrounding this fucking match. The fact that it's an old staple in the annals of pro wrestling and you did it your way only to shoot it the way that you did. I don't know who needs to be blamed, but that is not the only instance in this match that I have a problem with. There were other botches as far as production goes. Jericho pulling out a blade showed right there on top of the cage while he had the Lion Tamer on MJF. Nobody wants to see that either. Nobody wants to see people handing others blades or blading on camera. Then you got the fall. They showed the shot of the cardboard and the mattress and this and that. Whoever's in charge of production, and I'm assuming he's got years upon years of experience, that guy needs to be reprimanded and or fired so that something like this never happens again. I appreciate the effort of the 10 men. I appreciate the fact that Jericho at 50 years old is willing to take a dive off of a stage no matter what. But that's not the excuse that you should be using. It needed to be shot better. The entire situation took away from 10 men that beat each other senseless on Wednesday night. How do you think they feel? You think they don't strive for perfection? You don't think that they want that match to be the very best it could be from start to finish? You think those guys are happy with that ending after listening to the community? I know they're not. And if they say they do, they're bullshitting you. Because I know I won't. I won't be happy. I'm not happy as a fan, and I won't be happy as a professional. Shayna Baszler had the best reply out of everybody. I don't listen to many people, but I'm pretty sure that everybody that listened to me felt the same way that I know in the community that does this podcast thing. I got friends. Shout out to Big Hodge, Jason, one of my very good friends. He is a master of cinematography and photography. He even told me that it should have been shot better, that you should never expose what was there on Wednesday night. It could have been shot visually to a point where it would have been epic. If someone like that, who is a master of his craft, is saying that, then you know you fucked up. Shayna Baszler says this: we don't actually want a village to be burned by a dragon in Game of Thrones. If they did that, that would really be bad. But if the special effects would have been garbage, it would have sucked also, and everyone would have said so. The special effects in this case, ladies and gentlemen, sucked. And if you don't expect me to call that out based on the type of reputation I've given myself in this community, then you're clearly watching the wrong fucking show. Go watch somebody else that's going to bullshit you and look you in the face and lie to you every single time. I will not do that to you. If you don't appreciate the truth being brought up in discussion and conversation, if you don't appreciate somebody that's telling you exactly what you're watching, then I don't fucking want you here. All I ask is for some respect. You think this shit is easy? You think I want to come on Wednesday night of all fucking nights and rant about something that I didn't like? Wednesday is supposed to be my night. Wednesday is appointment by fucking our television. It's appointment watching television. Wednesday, 8 p.m., Dynamite. I never miss it. I never miss it. If I was given one opportunity to miss Raw, I would. If I was given one opportunity to miss NXT, I would. And I have done that. Wednesday, I haven't missed one night. Why? Because I believe in what they're doing. I trust in what they're doing. I hope that they learn from this situation. But I can't sit here and praise them for the match when the ending sucked, knowing full and well that the ending took away from everything that those 10 guys did. Listen to what I liked about the match, and then please tell me again that I hate Blood and Guts, or I hate AEW, or I'm a shill, or I am looking at this in a different way. Give me a break. Give me a break. Blood and Guts offered everybody exactly what they wanted, but when it comes to the ending, WWE, they look at it laughing. How do you think they look at it? They're laughing at AEW. Ha, 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 ha. You want to be AEW looking at your enemy laughing at you? They gave you everything you wanted, gave you shit that WWE is afraid to do, wouldn't even think about doing. And they ruined it. They ruined it. Everything about it was ruined. Just because of the fucking ending, because nobody's talking about the goddamn match. Nobody's talking about the goddamn match. WWE. Speaking of which, they labeled Blood and Guts a bad look for the industry after it was all over and said and done on Wednesday night. According to a report, this is coming from Ringside News. No reason not to believe them because they've gotten several things right over the last couple of months. According to a report, several people backstage in WWE thought the match was barbaric, considering how much blood was spilled by almost every wrestler in the match. The report adds that a tenured member of the creative team said, "It was a bad image for the industry, especially the obvious blading." Ringside News also added that some felt Chris Jericho is trying to become Shane McMahon by falling off very high things. I don't recall Chris Jericho falling off of very high things lately. So I think the Shane McMahon comparison is a little outlandish and far-fetched. Creative cretins. First of all, mind your fucking business, okay? Mind your fucking business, number one. First of all, the only thing barbaric in this case is how fucking terrible Monday Night Raw is. These people should not have a leg to stand on and a mouth to spew garbage when Monday Night Raw is legitimately the worst fucking show possibly on television, period, but it's without question the worst show in the industry. Bar none. Nothing is even close to Monday Night Raw. You have absolutely no room to speak on what is barbaric and what is not. The only thing barbaric is how fucking awful your creative writing is on Monday night. Number one. Number two, WWE gave Tony Khan and the Elite the idea for a Blood and Guts match. How much of this is jealousy? I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't be a publicly traded company. They have the opportunity to do that with a TV station and a cable station that is willing to let them go out there and show exactly what real pro wrestling is all about. Real pro wrestling to me is what Blood and Guts gave us on Wednesday night. Real pro wrestling doesn't exist on Monday night. It's sports entertainment. You should shut your fucking mouth right then and there on what AEW does. If I'm not mistaken, weren't you throwing tomatoes from a goddamn guitar case on Monday night? Yeah, because Monday Night Raw is so fucking perfect, right? Give me a break. And third, doesn't WWE have this same match? Now, granted, WWE's version doesn't have a goddamn top to the cage, but it's pretty much the same basis, minus the blood. If anybody bleeds, it's on accident. It's not really intended. Nobody's blading. Nobody's going in there with the intent to fucking bust somebody open legitimately by taking a chair or a kendo stick and this and that. And by the way, the chair shots, that was another thing that I seen on social media. The chair shots by Shawn Spears and Sammy Guevara in the Blood and Guts match, they were gimmicked chair shots. As long as the chairs and the chair shots are gimmicked, I'm fine by them. Again, I don't want anybody to take a old school fucking legit steel chair and bash somebody's skull in like Mick Foley has had done to him over the years. Give me a break. Nobody asks for that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wanted Jericho to fall off a fucking cage through concrete. Nobody wants anybody to swing steel chairs and give people concussions. As long as it's gimmicked, then it's fine. The steel chair shots, that is. I don't give a fuck if the ending was gimmicked. Don't show me the magic behind it, is what I don't want. But doesn't WWE do this same match? Yeah, there might not be any blood. There might not be a top on the steel cage, but it's just as barbaric. It's just as dangerous. It's just as risky. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Ricochet almost fucking kill himself by doing a 630 off the top of the cage? I don't understand you. Didn't Io Shirai, all 5'6" of her, do a moonsault off the top of the fucking cage? The way she does moonsaults is not like a regular moonsault, folks. She launches herself in the most reckless fucking fashion possible. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Tommaso Ciampa air raid crash Adam Cole off of the top of a War Games cage? Don't remember if it was through a table or not. It might have been through a table. I can't remember at this point. Either way you look at it, an avalanche fucking air raid crash off the top of a cage by Tommaso Ciampa, who, by the way, could have had his life ended after coming out of surgery for a neck injury on top of the cage doing an air raid crash. You mean to tell me that's not dangerous or barbaric by any means? Here, there might not have been blood, but I don't think WWE has the room to talk when they legitimately center that match around the month of November or December every single year for the last 4 years. WWE should worry about what they're doing and how they're making the industry look bad and how they're giving the industry a bad look. Monday Night Raw gives the industry a bad look every single week. Your creative writing team scares people away to not want to be promoted to Monday Night Raw, or better yet, if you're a free agent, even join the WWE to begin with. How many times have you ruined a concept? WWE, Bruce, Vince, Hell in a Cell ain't the same. WWE ruins shit by doing it way too much or by coming up with finishes that people don't look at the match the same way again. Fiend, Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell. Or Money in the Bank. How many times have you ruined Money in the Bank? Money in the Bank was ruined this year by the worst ways imaginable, possible. Give me a break. WWE labels Blood and Guts bad for the industry. That's just talk or speak from people that are either A, jealous, or B, they can't do what AEW is doing, so they rather shit on it instead of praise it, which I didn't expect the WWE to praise anything AEW anyway. And AEW didn't do themselves any fucking favors with the ending. That gave WWE all the ammunition possible to shit on what they did. Never mind the blood and the fucking brutality. It was the ending that people are laughing at. They have no room to speak at all. At all. Dynamite. Blood and Guts. Ranked number 1 on cable. But the rating to me was a little disappointing, man. AEW ranked number 1 amongst the top 150 shows on cable. They drew 1.090 million viewers. That is up from the 889,000 the show did the previous week. In the 18 to 49 demo, the show did a 0.42. That is up from the 0.43. Number 1 on the top 150 shows on cable, which was the first time that has ever happened for AEW. Last week's show was down due to a presidential speech by Joe Biden, which dominated the ratings for the second hour of Dynamite as it drew big viewership numbers across several TV networks. AEW featured the Blood and Guts match with the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle. Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall. We'll go over the results in a second, but the 18 to 49 viewership, 0.42. Female viewers, 18 to 49, 0.27. Male viewers, 18 to 49, 0.58. And 50 plus, 0.43. Also notable, 25 to 54 age range, 0.50. So those are pretty solid numbers there. But the rating, I don't know how AEW is looking at it. Yeah, they're number one in the ratings for the week on cable, but I would have assumed that they expected a higher rating. A 1.090 million viewership on Wednesday night's got to be looked at as a disappointment. I mean, they had other weeks where they did a 1.2 that were higher, and this match has been promoted to death and hyped up to death, and you draw a lower rating than 3 weeks ago? That's got to be looked at as a disappointment, man. I was expecting maybe a 1.3, a 1.4, tops. Nowhere even close to that. So, yeah, you might have been number one for the first time ever on the cable top 150, but if you didn't generate a bigger rating than that first Wednesday night you were unopposed because NXT moved to Tuesday night, I look at this as a disappointment. That's just me. Dynamite looked like this. Pinnacle beat Inner Circle in the Blood and Guts match. We went over that. Cody Rhodes defeated QT Marshall in what was probably QT's best match all year. SCU defeated Jurassic Express, Varsity Blondes, and The Acclaimed. Happy to see them back. Big fan of Max Caster. SCU goes on to challenge the Bucks next week on Dynamite. If they lose, they're finished. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston defeated Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa. I seen a tweet by Bully Ray that I was actually in 100% agreement with. He complained that Michael Nakazawa was holding the Impact Championship and it wasn't in the possession of Kenny Omega, and that if he was a top executive in Impact, that he would look at that as being quite offensive. Because Kenny Omega is the Impact World Champion, not Michael Nakazawa. So I do agree with him with that. I didn't really think about that. We'll discuss that on Wednesday with Jesse. I'm very interested to see his opinion on it and how he projects his opinion on Wednesday in front of everybody live on OTS. But I do agree with Bully Ray on that. It is quite embarrassing that Michael Nakazawa is holding the Impact World Championship when Kenny Omega is indeed the Impact World Champion, and Kenny Omega defeated Rich Swann, not Michael Nakazawa. And Dr. Britt Baker won a squash match over Julia Hart. Who? I don't know. Double or Nothing. They will have full capacity at Daly's Place. The pay-per-view will be Sunday, May 30th. Daly's Place, Jacksonville. 5,500 fans will be in attendance. They just had a concert last month for Machine Gun Kelly that was in front of full capacity. Since the COVID-19 pandemic started last year, the promotion has been hosting shows at Daly's Place with fans in attendance, but in minimal numbers. And this is the first show at full capacity. And this is a start of something beautiful, man. Finally. And Blood and Guts, I'll tell you what, man, they had about 2,000 people inside Daly's Place, 50% capacity, close to 50% capacity for Blood and Guts, and it made a difference, man. That crowd was hot. There was 2,000 people there. It sounded like 5,000. So this is going to be great. Double or Nothing is going to be awesome. Speaking of Double or Nothing, Jesse and I will be in Jacksonville. I will be doing some personal shit, drinking, eating, doing what I got to do on Saturday. But Sunday, Jesse and I will be in Jacksonville. We may or may not be going to Double or Nothing, depending on if we could get tickets. Sunday, we will be having a meet and greet in Jacksonville. So if you are in the greater Jacksonville area or close enough to Jacksonville where you're willing to drive, we will be in Jacksonville. Meet and greet from 2 to 4. I'll probably be there a little bit early because that's what I do, because I like to have my cold beverages. But we will be at the Intuition Ale House, or the Intuition Ale Works in Jacksonville. It's located right next to Daly's Place, man, and we will be there. So if you guys want to show up, meet and greet, hang out, I will be discussing this in the weeks to come. So come on out, hang out with us. I will be there with Jesse. I will be there with Hoop Media. We will be there. It should be a good time. And the beer menu looks pretty good, man, and they will have food. So you guys can come on and have some lunch. And then maybe if we're going to Double or Nothing and you guys are going to Double or Nothing, we could all walk to Daly's Place together. And if I can't take my Mustang there, can't take the beauty outside to Jacksonville, we may rent the Mustang, man. You may hear me pull up with Pilot playing on the PA, man. Max. It's going to be very fun, man. Can't wait. Chris Jericho. He names a recently released WWE star he'd like to see in AEW. Jericho spoke to the New York Post before Dynamite, rather, for Blood and Guts. And during this interview, Jericho was asked about the possibility of AEW signing any of the recently released talents from WWE. Those wrestlers, if you guys are unaware, Samoa Joe, Mojo Rawley, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, Tucker, Kalisto, Bo Dallas, and Wesley Blake. He first named Tucker, but noted he thinks if Tucker goes out and proves what he can do on the independent scene, he could be someone they sign. The biggest name to stand out for Jericho is Samoa Joe, who had been a commentator for WWE over the last year due to his history of concussions. He says, and I quote, obviously, the one name that stands out as an established main event heavyweight champion is Samoa Joe. These guys have 3 months before they can go anywhere, but I'd love to see Joe in an AEW ring at some point. That's another dream match if you want to go there. I've never wrestled him. I think we had one little 3-minute shitty little match on Raw and was kind of throwaway, and I didn't want to do it because I said this is a pay-per-view match, but that's the WWE style. I think Joe and Jericho, Joe and Omega, Joe with Cody, Joe with put name here is a money match. Jericho is correct. I'm not expecting AEW to go out and sign everybody, but these are the types of guys that when they are available legally, that Tony Khan should be keeping a nice little fund stored to go out and get guys like that. If they don't go out and get Samoa Joe, I will be highly disappointed. I really would. If Jericho sees it, and Jericho is a big name, and he's got major pull, I'm assuming Tony Khan is going to be right on board. So if Jericho is saying that, it gives me a little hope that Samoa Joe will indeed be coming to AEW. I hope so. SmackDown, last night, throwback edition of SmackDown. 2.157 million views. That is up from last Friday's episode of 1.923 million views on Fox. So obviously the throwback edition helped. And the reason why it was a throwback edition is because Fox asked WWE, they asked Vince McMahon to do a retro or throwback edition of SmackDown because I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, but they got a retro NASCAR event happening. And they wanted the themes to be similar all weekend long to kind of bleed into the NASCAR event that they got going on. So that's why they did it. So it seemed to work as far as viewership goes because they were up pretty decently compared to the last week. So it obviously worked. It was lazy, and I didn't really expect much, but it worked. The first hour saw 2.147 million viewers, and the second hour saw 2.166 million viewers. It also pulled an average of a 0.6 rating in the 18 to 49 demo, which was number 2 for the night. This is up from the 0.50 in the 18 to 49 demographic the show did the previous week. SmackDown looked like this. Cesaro beat Seth Rollins. He is now, because of this match, the number 1 contender for Roman Reigns in the Universal Championship. Dominic Mysterio defeated Dolph Ziggler. Looks like we are getting a tag team title match at Payback, or not Payback, Backlash. I don't know what WWE show is coming up nowadays. Dominic and Dolph, pretty short match. They gave it to Dominic to kind of justify that the Mysterios are getting a title match at the pay-per-view. Carmella versus Ruby Riott, with Carmella getting the victory there in a very short match, almost a squash match for Carmella. Tamina defeated Reginald. Listen, I ranted about this very extensively on Friday night. Go and check it out. Reginald should not be in the women's division. He should not be, as a man, wrestling female wrestlers, taking opportunity away from other female performers. Everybody wants opportunity for all the women that are not being used, yet you're willingly giving that opportunity to a male. Where are all the people now that criticize me and shit on me for the fucking thoughts I gave on Reginald versus Sasha Banks? Where are they now? You're the people that are wrong with the fucking product because everything that I said is 100% factual information. Yet Reginald, someone who is a circus act, is doing flips and dives and fucking cartwheels, and everybody wants to fucking go crazy for it. Not really what I want to see as far as women's wrestling, man. Do better. Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, Otis, and Baron Corbin defeated Big E, Kevin Owens, Street Profits, and Shinsuke Nakamura in a fun but worthless 10-man tag team match. Bruce Prichard was not at SmackDown. Triple H is helping out more and more every single week. Now, normally Triple H concentrates on NXT because that is his number 1 baby. He's still around, helping around during SmackDown, and his influence is starting to be noticed backstage on Friday night. Ringside News exclusively reports that some key players were missing this week. Both Bruce and Ed Koskey were absent, and they were also missing a couple of writers. A tenured member of the team told us that Triple H has been at SmackDown lately. It is also now becoming a weekly thing. Triple H has been helping with certain parts of the show, but he does so discreetly. That being said, it looks like he's helping out a lot. Dave Kapoor was called up from NXT to help out with SmackDown this week. Triple H was also there to do what he could do for the show. He's receiving a fair amount of praise for his contributions as well. There you go. The reason why NXT is in the doldrums that it's in right now is Dave Kapoor, who used to be the writer or one of the lead writers for Monday Night Raw. They got him working on NXT. So, I mean, if you guys need any more reason why NXT doesn't feel the same anymore, you got the likes of Dave Kapoor, who writes for the worst wrestling show in the modern fucking history of pro wrestling, Monday Night Raw, working on NXT. I did not know that until this report, till I just read it right now. That's awful. That is awful. But Triple H being on SmackDown doesn't mean that he's taking over SmackDown. It doesn't mean that he's replacing Bruce Prichard. Triple H is probably there because, A, Bruce was absent, Ed Koskey was absent. Some writers, no matter who they are or what value they hold, were not there. So they needed more people on deck. Triple H was there, and that's who they relied on. Also, Triple H is usually there in situations where a lot of the roster look at him as almost a father figure. So where they look at Triple H and they could go talk to Triple H and speak their mind and air their grievances, they do that with him because they can't do that with Bruce Prichard. He either doesn't want to hear it, he either will listen to it and not do anything about it, or listen to you and go bury it to Vince McMahon. So that's why Triple H is there for the most part, because a lot of those guys look at him as almost a father figure, and what he's done with his team on NXT, they go to him because he's probably a lot more approachable and a lot more easier to talk to, whereas they don't get any of that on a normal week when he's not there on the main roster. Either way, SmackDown wasn't all that good. It was a run-of-the-mill, by-the-numbers show. Like I say every week, without Roman, without the Usos, without Paul Heyman and that storyline and whatever's revolving around Roman and the Universal Championship, SmackDown sucks. Outside of Roman and everything around him, SmackDown is as bad as Raw. Now you got no Daniel Bryan. So the show's going to be much worse than it has been. Paul Heyman. He got a lot of people talking about his promo on Friday night. As many of you saw if you watched the throwaway edition of SmackDown. SmackDown kicked off with Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and Jey Uso giving a 10-bell salute for Daniel Bryan, who is no longer under contract with the company, as we discussed earlier. The segment got everybody talking backstage in a good way, according to Ringside News. Ringside News added that the 10-bell salute portion of the segment was not something that was in the script originally for the show. Heyman obviously had to clear this with Vince McMahon, and it looks like he was given the thumbs up of approval to say what naturally came to him and his mind on the mic. Reigns and Heyman are two of the most important people in the company, and they're also two people that have incredible leeway when it comes to what they do with their promos and their work and storylines. Ringside News added that people backstage were cracking up during the segment, and a member of the writing team wondered what the segment would have been with a live crowd in attendance. If you guys watched SmackDown last night, Paul Heyman was trying to cover his laughter up after the first ding, and then Roman Reigns after the first ding. As he gave this 10-bell salute to Daniel Bryan, he tried to hide his smirk, which is completely out of character for Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns doesn't smirk. He's all business. But this was a great segment. It really was. As noted earlier this week, Bryan is legitimately a free agent, and it's anyone's guess as to what he will do next. He could show up wherever he wants, but I will keep you guys up to date on where Daniel Bryan ends up and what's the latest with Daniel Bryan. Somebody that was noticeably missing from SmackDown was Aleister Black. There's a reason for this and why his third vignette did not air on Friday night. Fans were expecting to see the third vignette of Aleister Black on Friday Night SmackDown, but it did not air. Now, of course, Black was a part of the group that guys, or Paul Heyman guys, he was a part of that group that was supposed to be pushed on Monday Night Raw. So every time there's a couple steps forward and a couple steps back with Aleister Black, it always brings up that topic of discussion, that it was a Paul Heyman guy and that he was supposed to be pushed like a Paul Heyman guy. PW Insider reports that the vignette was expected to air during the show, but it didn't air because it was pulled at the last minute due to the show running long in some of the early segments. So, let me get this straight. This guy had 2 weeks of really great promos and what needs to be something with Aleister Black as far as giving him the attention he needs on national television on this show. What he needs most of all is consistency. You opt to take Aleister Black's vignette that was supposed to air on the show, opt to take it out, but you decide to give us Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler standing in the corner of Reginald as he goes one-on-one with Tamina Snuka. That's more important than Aleister Black? That's more important than building the character that you completely buried of Aleister Black. I don't understand that. I don't understand why you're pulling things at the last minute for somebody that has been pulled for the last year. Give me a break. That is ridiculous. If that doesn't show you that Aleister Black is not on their top priority list, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. What a fucking shame, man. NXT, their viewership. 761,000 viewers. That's up from 744. The show did the previous week. In the 18 to 49 demo, the show did 0.18. That is down from last week, 0.22. They ranked 21 on the cable top 150. And the 18 to 49 viewers, like I said, 0.18. Female viewers, 18 to 49, 0.14. Male viewers, 18 to 49, 0.22. And 50 plus, 0.41. NXT is boring. It's to a point where I don't even want to do the live streams on Tuesday night because nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit. And if you don't give a shit, why am I going to give a shit? I'm forcing myself to give a shit at this point. Really. I don't know what else to do, man. I really don't know what else to do. NXT looked like this. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell defeated Blackheart, Shotzi Blackheart, and Ember Moon. They become the new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Good for them. Really great match. Fun match in the main event. Isaiah Swerve Scott defeated Leon Ruff in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher defeated the Grizzled Young Veterans. Cameron Grimes defeated Anthony Henry, a.k.a. Asher Hale, in NXT. If you guys watched Evolve, you know who Anthony Henry is. Saray defeated Zeta Ramir, and L.A. Knight defeated Jake Atlas. NXT remains largely uneventful and largely boring on Tuesday night to a point where nobody is interested in it whatsoever. It sucks. It really does. Details on the new stable with Isaiah Swerve Scott. Scott defeated Ruff in a Falls Count Anywhere match with the help of AJ Francis. Swerve apparently has a new stable that appeared in a small backstage segment during the show. Francis is a former NFL player, if you guys don't know, who hosts A&E's WWE Most Wanted Treasure Show, along with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. WWE recently filed to trademark the Top Dollar nickname, which Francis uses. He played in the NFL from 2013 to 2018. Ashante Adonis also played college football and signed a WWE contract back in 2018. He also competed in a few matches on Friday Night SmackDown, but wasn't the type of guy, I guess, to be a mainstay on the main roster. He competed on the April 23rd episode of 205 Live, and he faced August Gray. Now he's back on NXT, and apparently he's in this group with Isaiah Swerve Scott and AJ Francis. The woman that was in the group, Brianna Brandy, played multiple sports in high school and eventually got into hip-hop, spending her time on tour with rappers such as Soulja Boy, Jadakiss, Corrupt, the Yin Yang Twins, Too Short, and others. Brandy signed with the company back in 2019 after working a tryout in the summer of 2017. Her last match was during the March 7th, 2020 NXT Live event in Orlando, where she and MJ Jenkins lost to Shotzi Blackheart and Casey Catanzaro. This is a new stable, but they don't have a name yet. After their debut, Scott took to Twitter to welcome the arrival of the new stable. He says, and I quote, "We got now. Don't care who got NXT, a.k.a. next." This is great. I love this just because I'm a big fan of Isaiah Scott, and I think it gives him some sort of direction. If they're pairing him strategically with these names and these people, they got plans for him. Now, I don't know what happens after all of this because it's very difficult to see what will work and what will not work. But I do think that this is the ceiling for all of these people because I don't see this being something that, generates any interest or thrives on the main roster. I'm going to enjoy it now. You might as well enjoy it now for what it is because it really is a nice strategic plan to build Isaiah Scott. He looks great. They gave him identity. They gave him some sort of attitude, direction. They paired him with people to surround himself to enhance this gimmick that he's got right now. I think it's great. I really do. What they do on NXT and how successful they are remains to be seen. But maybe they'll come up with the name in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully it sticks. Hopefully it really sounds good as well because it is very important that they nail down a really, really cool name for all of these men and women. Monday Night Raw. Ratings were, as usual, according to Showbuzz Daily, the show drew an average of 1.872 million viewers on the USA Network. That is up from 1.774 the show did a week ago. The 18 to 49 demos saw 0.54, 0.57, and 0.47 in the 3 hours. Hour 1 did a 1.891. Hour 2 did a 1.979. And Hour 3 did a 1.746. Monday Night Raw was largely awful as always. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defeated Lana and Naomi to retain the women's tag team titles. Short and awful. AJ Styles and Omos defeated the New Day to retain the Raw tag team titles. Damian Priest defeated John Morrison. The Lucha House Party defeated Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, where Cedric said, fuck Shelton. They ended that pairing. Sheamus defeated Mansoor and ended his 50-match winning streak by DQ because of Humberto Carrillo. Charlotte Flair defeated Dana Catering Brooke. Angel Garza defeated Drew Gulak. And Bobby Lashley defeated Braun Strowman in the main event. Snore, yawn, Z's, crickets, you name it, awful. Monday Night Raw is fucking garbage. Yet these people are calling AEW Blood Guts barbaric. Give me a break. Finally, guys, before we get out of here, the final news story of the afternoon here for OTS. Newly formed WWE Tag Team is in line for a very big push. Now, I was not a fan of Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, but apparently they are now a pairing on Monday night. I thought this was weak. I thought this was a poor use of Randy Orton. I thought they were using this to bury Matt Riddle. But the show has been somewhat watchable when they are on television, and I enjoy their chemistry together. I enjoy Matt Riddle's comedic timing with Randy Orton. I love Randy Orton's no bullshit attitude when it comes to staring down Matt Riddle and embracing his sense of humor. 2 weeks ago, they beat Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, and then this past Monday, they beat Elias and Jackson Ryker. So one is no longer a tag team, and the other is not really a tag team. PW Insider reports that this alliance is going to get a sizable push going forward as they plan to keep the duo going together moving forward. It was added that this isn't planned to be a short-term deal, but rather WWE is planning to have them together for a while as the company will be releasing merchandise for the RK Bro team shortly. Matt Riddle was originally slated to retain the United States Championship against Sheamus at WrestleMania 37 and continue that feud. Also, that ended, and they moved Sheamus on to whatever the fuck he's doing with Humberto and Mansoor. Orton was supposed to have a short-term feud with Riddle, then move on to feuding with Strowman. All of this was changed by Vince McMahon. I don't normally give Vince McMahon any credit, but I think moving Riddle and Orton on together was a lot better than what they were going to do with Orton and Riddle individually. Now, again, it might not be a real team, and it might not be something that is a one and done, but I like it. I really do. No matter how long they're together, I enjoy their genuine chemistry. I really do. I also don't think it's a good thing for the tag team division when you have to pair guys like this to be a team to win the titles in a division that doesn't really have any set teams that are viable enough to challenge for those tag team championships. The only real teams you got are, I'm going to say Miz and Morrison, but they really haven't done much as far as tag team titles to begin with. But then you got the Viking Raiders, and then you got the New Day, and that is it. Everybody else is not a real team. T-Bar and Mace are not a real team. They're not. I don't give a fuck if they were in the same group or not. That's not a team I look at, and WWE's not going to be pushing them in that direction. I highly doubt it. Then you got this team. Look at the tag team champions, AJ Styles and Omos. You got AJ Styles and Omos as your Raw tag team champions, and then you got Matt Riddle and Randy Orton looming over those tag team titles. That's going to be your SummerSlam tag team title match. Those are going to be your new tag team champions on Monday Night Raw. Why? Because WWE doesn't have anything else better. And then you got AJ, you got Randy Orton, you got Matt Riddle. In their eyes, the tag team division is thriving. In their eyes, the tag team division doesn't look any better than it does now. Because you got AJ, you got Randy Orton, you got Matt Riddle. But yeah, in WWE's eyes, they may think that. But in my eyes, you're using main event guys that should be vying for a U.S. title, an Intercontinental Championship, a World title, a Universal Championship, a WWE Championship. But you got them playing fucking house in the tag team division while you ignore developing legit teams, pairing legit teams together, pushing legit teams, legit creating a legit tag team division. Nothing about WWE's tag team division is legit. This is nothing more than a band-aid over the tag team division once again, folks, because they refuse to do anything creative and embrace tag team wrestling. But I'm going to enjoy it because there really isn't anything on Monday night to enjoy. And if this is the one thing, I'm going to take it, no matter how long it lasts. Thank you guys very much for all of your support on the podcast, man. I had fun doing this today. I'm glad I got all that off my chest. Hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you do a couple of things for me. One, hit that like button. Turn on the bell for all notifications and hit that subscribe button down below. Please do that. It is a great way to support the show. Follow me on social media as well, Twitter and Instagram, JD from NY206. Go check out all the other videos you might have missed on the channel. Monday night, NXT, AEW Dynamite, Friday night, SmackDown. Everything you need is linked down below, or just go to the channel. Everything you need is right there, waiting for you, nice and organized, man. So go and check all that stuff out. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Go get your t-shirts, bonfire.com. Link is down below. And go check out Dr. Squatch, drsquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout, and every other sponsor that is a part of the OTS family is linked down below in the description of this very video. Once again, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up. I'm getting out of here. I will see you for a brand new week of WWE content on Monday with Monday Night Raw, the go-home show before Backlash. See you guys later.